for anyone seeking true inspiration and is timelier now more than ever. Through inspiration and action, this book provides the thirsty reader with a greater understanding of how we, as individuals, can positively affect change for ourselves and our collective humanity. I am Lois Herman, the author of Chronicles of Hope and the host of the Inspiring Hope radio show on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. You can find me at loisherman.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Hello, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on truth, honesty, and integrity, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you are inspired by today's show. And today, I want to talk about freedom. Freedom is everything, yet freedom is not free. If you've been stuck in a dead-end job, yet had to work to support yourself and your family, you know what I mean. If you've ever been trapped in a controlling relationship where you lack the freedom to be yourself, you know what I mean. If your child has ever been bullied and you feel helpless to protect them, you know what I mean. If you've been in a country where your civil liberties have been taken away and you feel powerless to do something, you know what I mean. So many people take for granted the freedom we have in America because they have never known anything different. They've never ventured beyond their peaceful neighborhood to see what is really going on around the world. They go about their busy day, watching TV and trusting someone else to fight for their rights. Besides, things aren't so bad, and how could things really change that much? Things can change in an instant. We are on the brink of the potential for huge national change and need to step up and step out now. In a few moments, we'll chat with Liz Gabert, an amazing woman who lived abroad many years and can tell you firsthand what life is like in other countries. We'll chat about the freedom that Americans take for granted, things that are going on behind the scenes, and what we can do to ensure our rights are protected and preserved for ourselves and our children. If we each do what we can to support one another and help others to open their eyes to what is really going on in our country, we can make a difference for the people in America and around the world. Tony, a very special 105-year-old veteran, recently on Liz's show said, "Freedom is everything. It is not free. It comes with growing pains and some scars to remind us what we are working toward and fighting for." How profoundly stated. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 and 95.3 FM. We're here every Sunday morning, and I'd like you to help us share these messages with the world. Watch the videos on my website, loisherman.com, and join our Hope Community Group for support and inspiration at chroniclesofhope.net. The wise ones of the Chronicles of Hope series tell us about the importance of freedom. Each of us is blessed with free will, and even they would never interfere with our free will. While communicating with these amazing ancient ones, they seemed to know what we wanted to ask, yet would never offer information until we asked the question. Once we asked the question, they were always willing to give us the answer and then more. They respected our individual freedom, as we must respect each other, always. Native Elder Chief Dan George expressed this: "The time will soon be here when my grandchild will long for the cry of a loon, the flash of a salmon, the whisper of spruce needles, or the screech of an eagle. But he will not make friends with any of these creatures, and when his heart aches with longing, he will curse me. Have I done all to keep the air fresh? Have I cared enough about the water? Have I left the eagle to soar in freedom? Have I done everything I could to earn my grandchild's fondness? I ask you, what are you doing?" In the sessions with the wise ones of the collective, they emphatically referred to the tipping point of humanity and the fact that it is coming much faster than predicted. Aurora told us that the world as we know it is heading for an end, and we don't realize how little time we have left. The god Ray said there is no world at such a tipping point right now as Earth. We are on an accelerated curve, yet we haven't quite reached the point that it cannot be corrected. However, that point is now. The battle of good versus evil is raging before our eyes and behind our backs. This is the battle our powerful guides of the collective have spoken of so often. The battle of love versus hate, peace versus war, compassion versus greed, kindness versus meanness. While communicating with these wise guides, I sensed an urgency in their tone of voice, yet had placed the time frame at maybe 25 or 100 years in the future. I'm now realizing the fact that the time is now. The tipping point of humanity is upon us right now, this day, this year. Until recently, I had not truly understood the strong connection between politics and spirituality. Politics was for those who were governing the masses, and spirituality was for those like me who wanted to evolve their consciousness to be of service to others. I trusted our leaders to evolve their consciousness, that they had the best interest of people in their hearts. I have come to discover that could not be further from the truth. I am disappointed, disenfranchised, and disgusted by the many powerful elite whose hands are incredibly filthy at the expense of the innocent. And I am shocked by the depths that some descend into for their own personal greed and power. Azrael, the archangel of death, told me that never before in the history of this world have there been so many people who are so damaged, so evil, that when their time comes to pass, they will clearly see the harm they've caused to others and will destroy themselves. He shook his head and said, "There have never been so many." This kindly archangel suggests that we pay attention to our founding fathers and rise up against our oppressors as they did. No one told them what to do. These hardworking individuals took it upon themselves to speak out, to stand up to the establishment, which at the time was the royal elite. We are now facing similar battles of the common people against the long-standing political elite, whose plan has been to enslave the masses for their own power and fortune. We must stand up against those who are taking our power and fight for our freedom of speech, that we may hear all sides and decide for ourselves the path we choose. For the safety of our children, especially those precious ones who are involved in human trafficking and worse. For the security of our votes, that our voices count. for the right to make our own health choices based on evidence from medical experts about COVID and the vaccines. To be respected for our individual spiritual and religious beliefs, and to expect truth be shared by honest media, that we may know what is really going on around our world. Freedom isn't free. We live under the guise of freedom in America, yet many people have dedicated their lives to protecting our freedoms. They give up their own peace of mind, their own peace, to achieve peace for us. So many people are completely unaware of the corruption and deception going on around our world. People must be reminded we are in a war of good versus evil. We must stand for freedom from encroaching tyranny. We must be grateful for all who step up and stand for freedom. We must look to what the early Americans achieved versus a revolution. If only we could patiently wait until those in control have passed, then we could evolve into higher states of consciousness peacefully. Remember what happened to the gentle monks of Tibet? There are so many in the evil swamp of desecration that the concept of sitting back and allowing the process of evolution to passively occur is no longer an option. Azrael encourages us to rise up and speak out against the dark forces, to embrace our God-given rights and shine the light of truth. We must raise our consciousness and join together as spiritual warriors to encourage a revolution to free the people of our world. I have personally dealt with negative energies around individuals and places for over 30 years. My team of powerful energy consultants has discovered the ability to cast a broader net, to see, sense, capture, and shift destructive entities worldwide. This dedicated team of light warriors has been clearing the darkness in droves by the millions from around the controlling elite of our world. It has been an eye-opener to see how insidious the darkness has been and continues to be. We also see the light shining brightly around those who are courageously doing God's work. We invite the light of empowerment and encouragement to shine on those brave enough to step up and speak out. The archangels and other spiritual helpers actually do the work. We have learned to ask, trust, and know they are always here. They've been with us since the beginning of time and appear in various ways to encourage and guide us toward the path of living in peace. When you pray, you are asking for assistance from saints, angels, and loving teachers, and realize they are all part of the collective God that is here to guide us. As we develop our spiritual skills and come from a place of inner knowing, we open our hearts to these amazing light beings who truly want the highest and best for humanity. These guides encourage us to wake people to the reality of the insidious dark war that is raging around humanity. There are so many victims of media mind control who have been fed pervasive lies over many years. Good is painted as evil, and evil painted as good. We must start to question our long-standing beliefs, learn to think for ourselves, and look beyond the false illusions that have been planted in our minds and the minds of our children. Listen to your own hearts instead of following dictated mandates. Choose to discern for yourself what you are being told to believe in all aspects of your life. Research and learn for yourself the pervasive fiction being fed to the masses. You may be shocked into a new awakening, which may hurt your heart, yet serve to expand your awareness and help you to help reverse the tipping point of our earth. This gentlest of archangels, Azrael, was the one who incited the greatest passion for revolution, helping to awaken those who are stuck in mind-controlled illusions, whether by innocence, ignorance, or indifference. Each of us must wake up to what is really going on around us and step into the light of truth, honesty, and integrity. We have been given the chance right now to change the path of destruction, the negative trajectory of humanity. If we lose this window of opportunity, we may be facing a major global setback. Mother Gaia herself may choose to intervene, and that might not be very good for most. Let us wake up and join together in the light of truth to awaken the power of love and light with an intense passion to protect all things goodly and godly. Together, we can reverse the curse of negativity to save ourselves and our precious planet. With all of the uncertainty in our world today, how can we help people come together with a peace of understanding? How do we help people to awaken to the truth and feel connected in this chaotic world? You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 and 95.3 FM. And you can find me at loisherman.com. And be sure to join our community at chroniclesofhope.net community. And today, I'm very excited to be joined by a fellow radio show host. Liz Gabert is an amazing woman who hosts her own Life with Liz radio show on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 11 from 11 to noon. And she's a world traveler with so much wisdom on so many levels. Please help me welcome Liz to the studio. Hi, Liz.
Hey,
welcome.
Good morning, Lois. How are you?
I am good. And you know what? Liz is going to get me to start talking Southern.
Yeah, think?
I know. I go right back into it.
How about I say something to you first?
Okay, you tell me about you.
No, let me just tell you. Yeah, first of all, Gabert sounds very cool. But that ain't right.
That ain't right. I'm so sorry. Tell me.
No, it is. I mean, you've lived up here a long time.
Yes,
so
around the French Canadian.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So how do you
very cool.
How do you pronounce your name?
It's kind of boring, but it's Gabert.
Gabert.
Yeah.
You actually pronounce the T.
Yeah, Gabert.
Gabert.
When we were living in Canada, Gabert, we got a lot of Gabert.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yes. Well, welcome. So tell us a
you.
little bit about yourself.
Well, okay. Well, I am born and raised from Midland, Texas.
Okay.
That's considered West Texas. That's not El Paso, like in Panhandle, but that is what considered West Texas.
Sure.
And I am one of four. I am a twin. Let's see, what else can I say? I went to live in one house for all of that time, right, until I went to college in Abilene, Texas, and then graduated from college, and then went to work in Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay,
all right, where I met my husband. That is a very quick, how many years? Yeah, no details there, right?
That's good.
That's good. And so met my husband, Lance, there in Dallas. We were both working for Motorola in the day. Yes. And they were big in those days.
Sure.
Yeah. This is in the early 90s. Let's see, is that right? No, that would be early 80s, I guess that would be. Yeah, sorry, let's get to time. I should have that timeline in front of me.
That's all right.
I know.
So before we move on to you traveling outside of Texas, I want to circle it. I want to talk about what's going on in Texas because you have family. I have family in Texas right now. How is your family doing?
Yeah. So they're good. It was a long week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very difficult week. My twin is still in our hometown, and they lost power for 4 days and no water either, right? So it's different than up here.
And I know moving up here from Tennessee myself, down there, 3 inches of snow and they're completely incapacitated.
Yes.
That's Tennessee.
Yeah.
Texas doesn't get snow. So there's no snow plows, there's no salt or sand. There's sand at the beach or whatever.
Right.
But it's not like we have up here where the plows come out when we know to stay put. and they're just not equipped.
Not at all. I mean, people, I remember, because, people are terrified to even drive in this stuff.
Of course.
And that sort of stuck with me as well, because once, and so, but they are beginning to be past it, but they're having to dig in to see what went wrong.
What
because
really went wrong?
Yeah, power outages, for 3 million people.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
And so they're digging in.
We have nor'easters up here, but most of us have insulated pipes. We have either backup generators, or we have a wood stove or something. And besides, we've got sweaters, scarves, hats, boots. And I remember when I brought my children up here from Tennessee and enrolled them in school, they said, well, they're going to need winter boots. I said, Aren't those boots? They said, no, darling, those are high top sneakers.
Yes, exactly. I'll tell you but I bought my first ever pair of boots when we moved to Canada.
Oh, there you go.
And we'll get to that. But
yes.
Real boots. I had never
because down south you don't need them.
No, and fashion boots, but we didn't even, in my day, we didn't wear fashion boots either.
No.
Right? The pretty boots, right? And we certainly didn't need the warm ones at all.
No.
So
so they're digging out there.
It's fine. It's just taking some time,
Sure
and the
it is.
water is an issue
Right.
now, and
Yeah.
so it's still an issue because it's
Absolutely.
unclean for some
Right.
reason. So
Right.
anyway, but it's all it's
they're
fine.
doing okay now.
Yes,
But, my heart has been out. I've been sending
Yes.
prayers that way. Yeah, it's just we, different parts of the country, different parts of the world experience different types of weather challenges, and that this was a very weird thing that happened.
And like you were saying, but it affects different people differently.
Absolutely.
Right? Some people are hardly touched, and others, like my sister, were pretty severely impacted by this.
Yeah.
Very sad, and it affects their jobs.
It sure
you can't
does.
get to work, and if you're, but. They're getting past it, and
hopefully this was a one and done thing. It's not going to.
Well,
be
they're going to
repetitive.
learn a lot from this.
Yes.
Is what's going to happen, as we do
Absolutely.
in life, right? We learn a lot from these hard times.
We do learn.
So,
yes. So tell us, you traveled to Asia.
Yeah. So we met in, as I said, in Dallas, Fort Worth, and quickly we moved up to Chicago. So that was my first bout with cold weather, and holy moly! So
windy city.
It was cold, and so we had 2 short years up there, and then we moved down to South Florida.
Okay.
So Boca Raton area,
Right.
Coral Springs actually, and that is where our first 2 children were born very rapidly, and I chose, because I could and did, not to quit working. So I'd worked for 10 years post college,
And then you
had these
chose to
2
be
babies.
work as a mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and yes, it was what do you call it? A very real choice.
Sure.
And so as soon as my second one was 3 months old, zing, we moved to, so we got 4 years out of Florida, and that was enough for me, and without going into that.
That's
and
all right.
so, and then moved back to Texas, to Temple, Texas, Central Texas, and took a job with Texas Instruments, my husband, for 9 months, and that went away very quickly. Then
You sound
to
like me. With
Austin,
I went to 8 different elementary schools. Travel,
yeah,
and
but
travel.
that was
crazy.
But this was adulthood, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking buying and selling houses.
Oh,
and,
that's a lot.
all of that, right?
Yeah.
And then went to Austin, where
Okay.
we connected with Dell Computer, and so then we have our third child, and so it was 3 children, because I was an old mom. With 3 children in 4.5 years.
Right.
Yes, and we were there for a few years, so that was good. That was good in Lake Way, Texas, which is beautiful on Lake Travis, outside Austin.
So you got to experience the American dream.
We did.
Beautiful, loving, wonderful community.
It was.
Great place to raise kids.
It was awesome.
Yes.
And then Dell says, hey, y'all want to go to Singapore? And we all said, where's Singapore? I'm not kidding. And I'm not kidding you.
That's right.
Because this was, and again, this, folks we had heard of it, because this is 2004. Okay. And so we said, heck yeah.
Let's go.
We had little ones, right?
Yeah.
So they were all pretty young, and not babies, but little ones, kindergarten on up. So
And
with
what
those-
was that like, being in Singapore?
So Singapore was awesome.
Yes.
It was a huge adjustment.
Sure.
I will tell you. Culturally, I had never, been out of the country
Right.
to speak of. Hardly been out of Texas, right? But it was a big adjustment culturally, and not so much climate-wise, but it's hot. It's wetter, hot, and hotter all year long there. So it's kind of
It's
tough.
an island. It's an island,
is.
and it's like a paradise.
A little bitty. Yeah.
And it's also, I have been there myself.
Yes.
Just for on business. But what struck me is it seemed to be kind of a melting pot of different nationalities.
Yes, very much so.
Right.
Primarily of Chinese descent, originally, right? So primarily Chinese, but you have Indian, you have Malaysian,
Right.
a lot of Southeast Asian, so Vietnamese,
Sure.
right? And on and on. Filipinos, and so yeah, really neat mix of folks,
Right.
I'd say. And we lived in by the American School, the Singapore American School, which was predominantly expat community, but in that expat community, you had people from all over the world.
Sure, you did,
right?
yeah.
So that was really cool too. But then you had locals as well, if they could afford it, because
It was expensive.
very.
I remember how
Yeah, it is one of the
expensive.
most expensive
Right.
countries to live in the world.
Yeah.
Right. So, but man, it was generally just an amazing adventure, I will call it. And it was 6 years there.
Wow, that is a
so
long
it is
time.
a long time. And the downside, let's see. I can't really hone in on any major downside, to be honest with you, because we were able to travel throughout Southeast Asia and China. We went to China very easily. It's pretty inexpensive, relatively speaking, right?
What I find, most Americans take all of the Asian people and put them in all one bucket.
Yeah.
And I've traveled extensively through
Yes.
Asia as well. And to me, I kind of liken the Japanese are to the Germans. They're very organized, very efficient. And then the Chinese are more like the Italians that are a little bit more distractible, playful, just a different personality.
Yes, that is true.
But as you start to go to different countries, you recognize and realize
That's right.
that they're very, very different. And one of my most poignant experiences was spending a month, 2 separate 2-week stints in Taiwan. And
Yes.
I was so impressed with how they used East-West medicine. They used our Western medical technology for diagnosis, but they would send the patient across the hall to the Chinese medicine doctor
Yes.
who would balance the person's kidneys, and a mass or tumor would go away. I was really fascinated by the melding of that East-West culture. Was that similar in Singapore?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Now, well, I say that for the locals, it may have been.
I see.
Not for us. I mean, their healthcare system is very, very, very good. I mean,
Wonderful.
it ranks as one of the top in the world.
Yes.
And the bottom line with that is the only warning we got was that because they are so high level in terms of healthcare. I mean, state of the art.
Sure.
A state of
Yes.
the art
And-
is that they kind of could overdo it. So the example was, if you had a mole, and you wanted it removed, make sure you know what you're getting, because they could go above and beyond and take more of
Right.
for fear of being extra cautious.
Sure.
So that's one thing. So, but we never experienced that, and did we ever have any real issues? No.
Good.
No.
Yeah.
Except I did. Stomach things, happen all the time. Kept on and on and on, especially in a different part of the world.
Sure.
I was one of the first who got to swallow the camera.
Really? See,
Yes!
that technology is so
was.
advanced.
You know what I'm talking
I
about,
do.
right? I'm
Yes.
sure you
Yeah,
do.
my husband has had that.
Yes. So I was
Yeah.
one of the first to get to do that, which was
Wow.
an amazing thing.
Yes.
So and it told him everything he needed to know.
That is fascinating,
relative to the stomach issues. Yep.
Exactly. And that was what I experienced in Taiwan. They used the technology, but they balanced it with holistic approaches to health. And that that's what I treasured about Taiwan. I'm not so much sure about I think some of the other countries did as well.
I think a lot of them, especially in Asia, do.
Yes.
And your original question, I would virtually say the answer is yes with locals. Americans tend not to go that direction anyway, right? So we didn't. And if somebody came to us, which didn't happen anyway, we'd go, what? Right?
Right, yeah.
So, but my gut is the answer is yes.
And see, I was there in the local hospital. I was doing clinical investigations with product and saw how they actually practice medicine, which was a huge eye-opener for me, which helped to steer me into a more holistic approach for my life and my children's life and my career ultimately.
Yes. Yeah, that's really neat. So what year, can I just ask real quick, what year were you there?
I was back and forth in the 90s.
In the 90s.
It was in the 90s when I was there, so it was before 2000.
Yeah. Singapore is very, very cosmopolitan, state of the art.
Beautiful.
It's like a New York, right? But better.
But cleaner.
Clean. And lots of everything better. Sorry.
Yeah,
you know.
no, true. Very clean.
Especially these days. So
you moved from Singapore to Canada.
Well, we moved back to Texas really quick with Dell. Really quickly with Dell. Started over, oh my Lord, and it was kind of in the midst of the recession, the 2007-8. So we got back in 10, which was still, it was pretty deep, 2010. Anyway, so we started over, and then my husband said, enough with Dell, let's move up to Canada. And I'm like, okay, really? And so we did very quickly, and needed to sell our house that we had not been in 2 months during a recession. And that was fun. Lots of fun stuff in these moves, right?
Lots of education.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of stress, honey pie. But anyway, and so we moved up to Canada. We got into a one-bedroom rental, a 2-bedroom rental, 5 of us, 1 bathroom. Oh my gosh, that was fun.
Now, and you had teenagers by then.
By then, my kids were middle school and high school, young high school.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that's a challenge.
We went when they were to Singapore when they were this big, but by the time we landed in Canada, they were middle high school. So it was fine. It was fun. It was tight quarters, but it was still, the kids at even at that age kind of were very resilient. They were always, because I think I handled it pretty well, I think. I was always excited about these moves. I looked at them as adventures.
Sure.
And instead of, and so the kids just bounced, man, generally so. Always hiccups, right?
Yeah.
But generally bounced, and we ended up in Canada for 4 years.
And so I know a lot of people think of we hear talk about, we need to go to, Canada has such wonderful health care. That I've heard from so many people that that's not necessarily the case.
It is not the case.
So are you at liberty to tell us what your experience was?
I can in a nutshell, yes, because it's a pretty long, terrible story, to be honest. But my daughter, she's the oldest, at the time was 19, 19 years old. And she had started her second year of college up there. Okay, so she graduated high school in Canada and had a first year of college nearby. Because for many reasons, she went to a nearby university, right, and lived at home her first year.
Sure.
And then starts her first semester. She comes down with, at 19 years old, an ear infection, right? And you're going, holy mackerel, because this, little kids get ear infections. Adults generally don't. But we're going, heck, okay, take her, because in Canada, we were lucky. We were very fortunate working for BlackBerry at that time. BlackBerry phones.
Oh, yeah, I had
Y'all remember BlackBerry phones that we don't have anymore. But anyway, so that's who we were working for up there. So because you're working for a large corporation like that with expats, and you're American, guess what? You get hold of a doctor, right? A general practitioner. We got one after 9 months. It took I had 3 kids, mind you, 9 months to get a doctor, just a general practitioner, where a million, off the record, a million Ontarians, we were in Ontario, we were outside Toronto, do not have primary care physicians. It is probably more now, by the way, because there are doctor shortages and specialist shortages to boot. I mean, it is very, very difficult to nab a doctor, and even good ones, to be honest with you.
Can we segue into why do you think there's doctor shortages?
Well, but because it's government controlled and owned. Everything, it's government health care. virtually 100%. These doctors get paid very little, right? So why would you educate yourself, which they've got decent universities in Canada. Why would you spend that kind of money, educate yourself if you can, and get paid very, very little? You're going to leave that country, and you're going to go probably to America is where you're going to go.
Right.
And that is very, very common. In fact, I've had Canadian doctors here. Very, very common.
Right.
Because you don't get paid anything. You spend a ton of money to some degree, although college, that's the only thing that's cheaper up there, by the way, is universities, because it's subsidized by the government.
Right.
Right? So my daughter, we paid $3,000, top university, $3,000 a semester. That is nothing.
Right.
For college. So that's the only thing that's cheaper up there.
So I would expect that if it's government controlled and there's a shortage of doctors, that the doctors, and this is part of why I left the medical world, which I haven't even told you, was because I was told that I needed to I had to reduce, I was responsible for quality control for diagnostic ultrasound and nuclear medicine, and I was told, cut the time to do the procedures by 1/4. And with ultrasound, if the person doing the procedure does not see it, it's not diagnosed. And you're talking about the potential for misdiagnosis went up exponentially.
Yes.
And that was one of my main reasons for I can't do this. So I could only imagine that these are doctors that are being forced to see patients with less and less and less time.
And a lot of patients.
Sure.
I mean, our doctor we did get, our primary care, he had some numbers for me, because we sat down and talked about this stuff, especially after this incident with my daughter, because we could not see him. So when she gets this ear infection, we did have a doctor, by then, nicest guy not even from Canada, originally from Egypt, actually. So they have a lot of that as well, because it's, you probably get paid more in Canada than you do in Egypt, if you can get a job in Egypt, right? So So
what happened with your daughter's ear infection?
Yeah, so we ended up going to one of the corner clinics that when we left U.S., there were no corner clinics to speak of.
This
in
is
2004,
all new,
So anyway, but they have them out the wazoo there in, in Canada. They're everywhere. So instead of trying to get in with him, which I probably couldn't have with just an ear infection, it would have been days. I thought, you know what, I'm not messing with this at 19. So I went to the clinic, right? And they gave her an antibiotic. Gave her an antibiotic. We go home, antibiotic, it clears up within the week-ish, right? And it's 2 weeks or bout of whatever it is. And then, boom, it's back. Same ear, by the way. And so we go back to the corner clinic, see a different doctor, because you never see the same doctor, right? So you don't know them. And he looks, that one didn't work. Let's try another. And go home, same thing. This time it was a little bit more painful for her, the second bout, because this is back to back, pretty much back to back. And she was in quite a lot of pain, and it was after hours, and I called, there's an after hours number, right? And they said, you need to take her to the hospital. We took her to a nearby hospital at 11 o'clock at night, and we sat and we sat and we sat. It was a smaller hospital until 3 a.m. when her eardrum burst, right? And so the pain, we didn't know that at the time, because I have no background, but the pain subsided, and she had been screaming and crying the whole time. We never moved out of the waiting room. And then that happened. She goes, I want to go. I want to leave. And we went up there, and they said, you may as well, because there's no doctor on call and there are no beds. So we went home. But within days, the pain started again, of course, right? Because infection's still there. We go back to the clinic. They give her another, right? And it subsides, blah, blah. And also in the meantime in there, she ended up getting her wisdom teeth out. With the
could have been part of the pain and the whole pattern.
Part of it, yes. So that's kind of key, by the way. And so then by the fourth one, because they gave her we go back in, see the first doctor we'd seen before, and he says, you know what, you've got to get her to an ER. He goes, because her vitals were very bad. To put it, and you would know them better than me. But she couldn't even walk by now.
Oh wow!
I had to wheel her into the ER. They triage her, do all that, and they said, "Holy moly!" And they pushed, and they were like, the place was packed full of people, because that's what people do there is they go to the ERs because they can't be seen.
They can't get in to see a regular doctor.
Yes, and so she gets pushed back, and they bring her. Bottom line is they bring her back back. They're just, I mean, they put her in isolation because they think she has meningitis. They have rashes of meningitis in their universities, which is very contagious, right? So they, do all their stuff, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going, oh my God. And my husband had lost his job already, came down here to look for a job or interview for a job, and they bring her back. By the end of the day, she is walking around with the thing, the IV, blah, 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 to the bathroom. I get her nuggets. She's doing good. I said, I have 2 little kids at home, younger kids at home. Can I go home? Yep. They call me. I hadn't been home an hour. And they said, you got to get back. She's crashed. Anyway, bottom line, after all of this, she comes out. They had took her into surgery. And I didn't know what it was for. I had no idea what was going on here. She was out by the time I got there. Bring her out, and they come and talk to me and said that the infection had permeated her mastoid bone, which is this hard bone, right behind your ear, and so they did a mastoidectomy, removed that bone, and then she was in a medically induced coma because they had to make sure that this infection had not moved into her vital organs, her blood and vital organs, right? Wow. So I go in, my daughter's on a respirator. My 19-year-old daughter from an ear infection, right?
That is crazy.
Anyway, bottom line is she ends up, she goes septic, by the way, as well. Her lungs failed.
Terrible
tragedy. Just a horrible thing. And she comes on out, and gets pumped full of antibiotics. I mean, just because it had been, they never swabbed her, and they learned it was something called invasive strep A, which is the flesh eating. Yeah,
I'm familiar with that.
And so very serious, very serious.
Yes, it is.
And so here we are. She walks out of there, and we wanted out of, you can only imagine, Canada as quick as we could.
Yeah.
And we did. We got out pretty quickly within less than a year.
That's a tragic story. I've heard other similar, nothing that tragic, but I've heard a lot of stories about not being able to get health care and it being limited, and even from the medical people, their constraints and their their pressure.
I talked to my doctor. Anyway, the bottom line with that one is when I landed in New Hampshire, right after that, man, I was on a tear because socialized government health care, single payer health care was being pushed, and it was being pushed in New Hampshire.
Sure.
Or at least study of it.
It's
because
being pushed around right now.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
It is.
People need to, this is part of the stuff that people need to wake up and really look at what's truly going on, and don't be fed the narrative. Look beyond the illusion.
The thing is government can't run much of anything efficiently, or and certainly with at a quality
They're
level.
Really not meant to.
It's not. That's exactly right.
Really not
it's not in
to.
our Constitution,
no,
is it?
It
right?
is not.
They are not supposed to be in charge of our education system. They are not supposed to be in charge of our healthcare system.
Absolutely.
That is unconstitutional.
Yes.
But we are way past that, right?
Right.
And look where we are.
And that's where I want to go.
Yes.
I want to talk to. I want to ask. Thank you for that fascinating.
Oh, I know.
We're going to have
sorry.
you back on.
I know.
No, that's okay.
Yep.
You have a fascinating story about when you came here to New Hampshire, and I want to hear your story about Trump.
Yes.
Because you had an attitude about him, and I want can you
absolutely, and
5 minutes?
I don't even need that. Okay, that one, as you can imagine, when it's your child, you are passionate.
I can tell.
Beyond, and to nutshell something like that, I use the word nutshell.
Yes,
I can nutshell Trump.
Right?
How's that?
Okay, let's nutshell Trump.
I'll nutshell Trump for you. So landing here, we are 2004. Almost 15.
Okay.
So we're right in the midst of primary season of 2016 election, right? And I don't know what a New Hampshire is. I've heard of it.
Yes.
I don't know New Hampshire.
Right.
Anyway, and then those folks, right? The 2017 Republican candidates are coming through here. I'm going, what in the world? And
because New Hampshire is the first place
in the nation, first in the nation primary. I had no idea, right? No idea, none. And but I thought, wait, this is cool, right? And so I did my best to, just because I had watched, very honestly, quickly, living outside the country, America, for 10 years, and okay, how do I pray? And watching from afar what is happening. Because I was able to. Some people can't, and I didn't have a lot of time to do it, but I did, and I'm going, oh, what is going on here? And this was during the, as I call it, the reign of Obama, right? And I knew I knew that something wasn't right there. Okay,
Right.
but I can't do anything.
Sure.
There's nothing. I can vote because I was able to vote absentee.
Exactly.
All right, so land here. And then I'm going, digging in a little bit because I can. It's easy here in New Hampshire. Very cool state for that, by the
Yes.
way. I mean, if you're not semi-educated on politics or interested, living in New Hampshire, ooh, shame, in my opinion, because it's so important. Okay,
is.
so those guys, start rolling through. I go and see them, and then, oh my God, there's this Donald Trump guy, and I didn't really know who he was, right? I'm from Texas. I mean, and then beyond, right? So I really didn't know who he was. Didn't watch The Apprentice. I just didn't. I didn't have time for that stuff, right? I knew the name, but I had no idea. He comes down that escalator, right? And I'm going, holy mackerel. And then just all the talk starts, right? All the stuff. And then I'm beginning to watch more, as lots of folks did, especially with the Donald Trump in there. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this guy is disgusting. Now, I was appalled by his behavior, to be honest with you. Absolutely. I mean, I'm from Texas, right? I'm not, but we're supposed to be prim and proper,
Right.
And I've been around a while, and politicians aren't supposed to behave like that. Okay. So I'm going, yuck, and yuck. Who am I going to vote for in that primary? Ain't gonna be Donald Trump because he was 17th, 18th on my pick list. So I end up voting. I was gonna vote for Cruz, didn't Ted Cruz, because I didn't think he could win the primary. So I voted for Marco Rubio, pretty boy, and voted for him. Guess who wins that primary? And the rest is history. But so then we've got a general election, and I am not voting for that scumbag. I am not. And so a friend of mine who was all in, and he is essentially an immigrant, a legal immigrant.
Right.
But this guy, and very Catholic man, blah, 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 he knew from moment one that Donald Trump was the guy. He knew it. And he says, Liz, because I wasn't going to vote. I was not going to vote in the general election. I wasn't going to vote for Hillary, and I wasn't going to vote for him. He said, you must vote. I go in, and so yes, I do. And
You held your nose.
as he said, as many people did, I believe. Honestly, I'm not alone. You're never alone. And I did, and look what happens. And I'm going, oh my gosh. And I'm sitting back and I'm watching this, right? Evolve. And it didn't take me, I think, probably a year to go, he still disgusted me, but I'm going, holy mackerel, look what this man is doing.
Right.
Is with policy. Look what he is beginning to accomplish. First year, just a little, they blew up healthcare. That one didn't go well, and I was so upset by that one, but because they wanted to kill Obamacare, which I wanted dead. But anyway, second year, there's more. Third year, there's even more. And I could rattle off, but I'm not. But for me, there was so much that this man accomplished, a lot of it in the Middle East. And actually, the number one for me was the Middle East peace.
The peace.
That ended up, the Abraham Accords,
right.
And all of his work with Israel and with some of these, Middle Eastern countries.
So let
me
ask you, how were you getting your news? Because the media has painted him as Orange Man bad. Everything in the media has been so negative about him, and we don't. The question I have is why?
Yes.
But where were you finding your information?
So in the early days, it was Fox. Right. And I know people are rolling their eyes about Fox. Right.
Right.
But I'm a conservative. It didn't, I am a conservative. I believe in family, faith, freedom.
Right.
Right. That is me.
Right.
That is not what you're getting elsewhere.
Right.
That is not. And so you do. On Fox, you did do, And so that's where I got it. But then I'm watching him. I'm just watching this man, and I'm going, oh, my God, because I have a daughter with some challenges. She's on the autism spectrum. And I'm watching this guy. And what stuck out for me really quickly is he was sitting in a church service. I don't know which one it was, but they were rolling. They had it on and I'm watching this man, and he can't sit still, right? He can't even hardly pay attention. And I'm going, oh my heavens. This guy, number one, he's a genius.
He's genius.
He is a genius. And
Absolutely.
if and they're painting him differently, but the man is a genius. And then I'm watching some of his other behaviors and just kind of what he does, and I'm going, holy moly, this guy knows what he's doing, number one, because of his business background, which I loved, by the way.
Right.
But also, he has something within him that I couldn't pinpoint that was beneath that rugged exterior and something good. Because all of his policies, in my opinion, that America First agenda, which I love, but it was not to the detriment of the rest of the world.
Right.
It was not. He wasn't saying go bomb.
Right.
Let's see. Iran. He was not saying go bomb them.
No.
And guess what? It never happened. They were saying he was going to pull the switch, right? It never happened. So I'm just watching it as pragmatically, as rationally, and as unemotionally as possible. By the time he was virtually done, man, and I was, in those 4 years, I was going to some of those rallies and watching those people, right? Regular folks, just like me.
Right.
And I'm going, holy mackerel, they know too.
That's right.
They know too. They might have probably even knew before I did that this man was placed here, and I am a woman of faith, but for a reason. There was a reason this man was put here as our president at this time.
Right.
And I truly still believe that. And the bottom line for him is I believe the man, two things. Well, the major thing I guess I would focus, he woke so many people up to the reality of what is going on in this country and around the world.
And what is going on awoke people to the dark,
Yes,
the
yes.
negative, and that's
Yes.
that's what I've seen. Because,
Exactly.
Like I shared with you, my group, we're able, when you go into trance, you can see someone's energy. There are people who are psychic who can read energies. The average person, when you go into trance, you can see your own energy, you can see other energies. Everybody that I have worked with and my team of people, when they look at Trump, his energy is pure light. And that tells me that he is divinely protected. His intention is pure. We see the darkness around people. Oh my gosh, heavy, nasty darkness. But we have never seen that around Trump. He has always been surrounded by light and protected in a big way. So that tells us in that spiritual world that this man is here he's divinely guided. And what we have also seen is he's a very praying man, very much from the heart. There's so many stories of the kind things he does for people, but he does it without fanfare.
He does. That's correct. And he, like all of us, in my opinion, 4 years of being president, he has evolved.
Oh, he has.
Enormously.
Absolutely. Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
As anybody should.
Well, he also had
Yes.
to do a lot with one hand tied behind his back because
Yes,
the media
yes.
has done nothing to. The average person who just listens to TV doesn't know of the peace treaties that he's created.
That's right.
They don't
That's right.
know. There's so much that the media has
Yep.
skewed, and that's the sad part.
Right.
Is if the media would just be honest, if the people would just be honest, then so many people would have a different opinion.
That's right. That's exactly right. And
Right.
report the news
And
because
report the
again,
real news.
Yeah, because that evolution
Yes.
over 4 years, you can see it.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you can too from
Absolutely.
your perspective.
Oh my goodness, Liz,
Yeah.
this has been fabulous.
I
We're going to
know,
have to
I know.
have you back
Yep.
on and chat
Thank
some
you.
more. We just have just a minute
Yep.
left,
Yep.
and you had queued up a wonderful song that we probably don't have time to play, but I'm going to invite everybody to listen to "God Bless America," and I found this beautiful song, "God Bless America." Look it up on YouTube by what is her name? Karen Waldrop. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you,
for
listeners, for
having
being
me.
with us. Join us next week, at WSMN. And Liz, when people can find you
on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 11:05 to noon.
Yes.
Eastern Time.
Life with Liz. And you have lots of different people on, lots of different conversations. And please find Liz and continue to find me. And we're here to inspire you. Good is coming, though. Regardless.
It
Do
is.
you believe it?
I do.
I believe it as well. Yes. Meanwhile, everyone, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.